Hi, I'm Margot Kong, and I am Barnard class of 92. I was an English and sociology major, and many years later now, I am the founder of Journeys Unparalleled, and we do luxury travel all over the world. Journeys Unparalleled is a travel advisory company. And what that means is rather than being a travel agency where we just sit and take calls, we work with our clients to advise them on travel decisions around the world based on their past travels, their needs, their bucket list destinations, their budget, and then we put together plans for what that travel should look like based on all those factors. We make recommendations based on not only our firsthand knowledge and our own experience, but also we tap into our network of connections to travel suppliers all around the world to create really unique experiences so that our clients come back saying, wow, that was amazing. In terms of our planning expertise and our financial background in the financial services industry, that I feel is quite unique because not a lot of travel advisors come from that industry. And so because of our experience in financial services, we're able to bring in the planning side of it, a different perspective to that planning. I was born to a working class Chinese family in South Africa during the time of apartheid. So that means that we were considered colored, which is neither white nor black. And that had a big impact on me growing up. And then in the 70s, we moved to Irvine in Southern California, which then was predominantly white. So again, I definitely felt like an outsider. And when we first moved there, I didn't speak English. It wasn't until college that I met other people in school at Barnard, at Columbia, who had also that sense of being an other in one form or another. And I definitely think that informed me today in terms of my goal in travel is to introduce a wider depth and breadth of people to the world and to new cultures so that people, especially children, can see that we're all around the world. We may come from a different culture, a different place, but there are a lot of similarities as well as differences, and I want people to be able to celebrate those. Initially, when I was thinking about starting my own company, and actually initially when I made the transition from finance to travel, I was a little apprehensive. I thought, well, what do I know about travel? But I quickly learned that many of the skills that I had in the financial industry were definitely transferable. All through my financial industry career, I worked in sales, and if you can sell a stock, you can sell a tour or a travel experience. So I learned that very early on. And I enjoyed working with people and really learned how to work with people on a one-on-one basis and in groups in the financial industry. And of course, that transfers to travel as well. And then in terms of what I do now that directly relates to what I did in my previous life, we put together what we call curated travel plans. And those are similar to financial plans in that you work with a financial advisor to develop long-term strategies for your financial life goals. And in the same way, we work with our clients and we talk about past travel experiences, what their milestones are, what their goals are, what their bucket list or wish list destinations are. And based on all that information, we put together a short-term, a medium-term, and a long-term plan for our clients. My intention initially when I left the financial industry was to start my own company leading tours and creating tours to South Africa because that's where I'm from, that's where all my connections are. But that was before I realized that there were 1,000 companies that already do just that. But serendipitously, when I started forming this business, I met this couple who were living in China and had just started a Chinese tour company doing luxury tours to China. They were giving me advice on how to start a business in travel. But in the meantime, we discovered that there was a mutual need on both sides. I needed to learn a little bit more about the business, while at the same time, they needed someone who had sales experience. So we started working together, and they suggested I work with them until I got my business off the ground. Well, 14 years later, I was still working with them. But in the end, we both decided it was mutually beneficial that we go our separate ways. And that's when I did go off on my own and start my own travel advisory company. So having had that previous 14 years of experience, it gave me insight into the travel industry, and I had made connections throughout the world to amazing travel suppliers who can help me as a travel advisor put together amazing trips for my clients. When I originally started my advisory business, I thought that I would be selling trips similar to the kinds of travel that I like to do, namely active, outdoor adventure, nature-based trips. But early on, many of my clients were families with very young kids. And the last thing that clients with little children want to do is be schlepping all over mountains or even schlepping all over Europe with young children in tow. So I quickly pivoted and realized that I needed to learn more about luxury resorts with kids programs. And so I delved really in deep into resorts in Hawaii and Mexico and started from there. And as my clients' families, as their kids have gotten older and they've become more adventurous and more willing to go out with children and be a little bit more adventurous with them, so too has my knowledge and my research in terms of travel and my recommendations to my clients. It's very important to me that the industry is more diverse. Right now, it's very not diverse because I myself am a person of color, and because nearly 50% of my client base are BIPOC, people of color, whether it be Black, Latino, or Asian. I feel it's very important that when they go to a country or when they go to a property anywhere in the world, that they feel welcomed and that they feel comfortable. So when I do personally travel to hotels and I come back and I give the feedback to properties, I tell them how they're doing in terms of diversity. I give them feedback on not only the staff that I see on property and whether it's a diverse mix, but also on the clientele that I see, whether there's diversity there. So I give them that feedback. And also recently, the Virtuoso Network that I belong to, it's a luxury travel consortium. They invited me to join their diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. And so my fellow committee members and I have been working hard to think of strategies for companies in the luxury travel sector to become more diverse and to push diversity. Similar to what I'm doing in terms of diversity, when I come back from a hotel, I give the hotel, whether it be the salesperson or the salesperson related to that property or the general manager, I give them feedback for how I see that they are doing in terms of sustainability and impact on the environment. So I talk about whether they use single-use plastic, whether they use reusable things like lids that can be used on the milk in the room, or disposable things. So that's very important to me. I also plan to work with an environmental strategist to come up with a scorecard so that I can give feedback that's based on quantitative measures rather than qualitative measures, and help push sustainability from my end. When we were locked down in late March and I was facing a spring break with the kids home for over a week and what am I going to do with them, I thought of the idea of developing a virtual tour that we could take as a family. So every day we would do things in our home where we were sheltered in place that would relate to things that we would have been doing had we been traveling. So we chose Ecuador and the Galapagos because that is a destination that we've always wanted to visit as a family. And so every day we did things that were related to things we would have been doing in Quito or in the Galapagos. So one day we were supposed to be snorkeling. So my daughter went into the bathtub with all her snorkel gear and took a bath as if she were snorkeling. Another day we were supposed to be driving through the Ecuadorian rainforest. So we got in the car and we drove through a drive-through car wash. We listened to Ecuadorian music. We watched biographies on Darwin and the Galapagos. And we posted about these adventures every day on social media. And my clients were intrigued by it. I got a lot of great feedback, and some people started asking me to put together virtual tours for them. So throughout the summer and early fall, we've been doing some of that, doing virtual tours of the Louvre or of Lima in Peru, where a guide would take you on a virtual tour through the city. In addition to that, we've been doing more driving vacation planning. So rather than having our clients go to Europe, they're going to Los Angeles or to Utah. A small handful of my clients do feel comfortable flying, and an even smaller handful are flying privately, but predominantly we're doing driving vacations. My business is all about relationships. Not only is it important to have very good and strong relationships with my clients, but having relationships with the suppliers I use all around the world is equally important because they are the ones who help me create that travel magic when you're traveling. So prior to COVID, much of my time was spent working directly with clients and helping them create their travel itineraries. And I haven't had as much time to work on developing the supplier relationships. But now that there's been a bit of a lull in business because of COVID, I have fortunately had the time to bone up on my destination knowledge and really deepen the relationships and create new relationships with travel suppliers all around the world. Feel that the changes that we've been working on in terms of diversity and sustainability are changes that are going to carry on after we're on the other side of this. Once we're moving in the right direction in terms of both diversity and the environment, I don't think it makes sense to go back. My biggest piece of advice would be don't buy into the negativity. I once had a friend of my parents say that he thought working in travel was a waste of an Ivy League education. And I think that's complete hogwash. If you find something you love, persevere, work hard at it, do it no matter what anybody else thinks. Of course, do your research and make sure that it is a viable business. But if you love it and you're passionate about it, you can make it work, and you might find it may even be a lucrative career for you. Pre-COVID, I used to love to do ballet and swing dance and Muay Thai, but those I haven't been able to do in the house. So since March, I've been taking Zoom singing lessons, voice lessons. And so that has kept me sane and grounded and helps get my mind out of the work and all the stress going on in the world.